One of your stories that you've most recently done that terrifies me the most is the story of this Titan software.
Yes.
How did you first come to learn about this software and explain what it is?
Again, it was an anonymous tip first. One of a source reached out again on Instagram. He said like, "Hey, dude, you need to know about this software that Mexican and cartels are using, and I'm only sharing this with you because I think you are the one to publish this story, whatever, to find out more about it." And I can't say a lot of stuff about this guy, so for his security, right? But basically, Titan, what this is a Mexican development, a software that is like a mega database for a lot of Mexican databases, right? It gets Mexican voter ID database, phone companies, different mobile and land phone companies, databases, banks, most of the banks, probably all of them, credit scores, et cetera, like criminal backgrounds, and also has the capability to live track you. And it is as easy as to enter a full name, or what we call in Mexico an RFC, which is your basic tax ID, or a phone number. And by doing that, well, these source offer me a login to go in and try the platform. It was mind blowing how fucking easy it is to just enter. I asked permission to a friend of mine in Mexico if I could enter his name or phone number to track him, right? Enter his info, and it gave me several sheets of personal data, like his most recent calls, like a list of logs, and then this database makes like this call crossing to try to identify like how close the people he's talking to are to him. Like you can tell probably that he called his mom, or he calls. There are like 100 calls in the last month to this number, right? So the circle is
who he
bigger.
talks to the most.
Exactly, who talks to the most and whatever, like most recent calls, whatever. It gives you a sheet about his credit score, security background background check, his license plates, the cars he owns, addresses, different addresses through the years, Mexican voter ID, license. What else? I can't. It was like a bunch of like shit, dude. Like his different phone numbers. And a list of the last hour location every 15 minutes, a pinpoint where every 15 minutes he was for the last hour or the last 2 hours. So you can track where he was, where he's been the last 15 per 15 minutes dropping point, like on a map. And then you can access this live location. What this live location uses, it's a protocol called SS7. Which is a mobile protocol used by mobile companies all over the world, so they can communicate between each other. Without this protocol, if I have Verizon and you have AT&T, we wouldn't be able to communicate with each other. That's why you can communicate with people in China or Mexico, whatever. But this protocol has been widely criticized for a while because of its vulnerabilities. It's super easy to access this protocol without any malware, whatever. And Mexico, a few years back, made this anti-monopoly law that basically bans a single mobile phone company to own the whole registry or the biggest spectrum for the use of mobile technology, right? For mobile communication waves.
Right.
And what this does is that you and I can set up a mobile company in Mexico, right? We can show up with paperwork and say, like, we want to start our own Danny Jones mobile phone company. It's super easy to get approved, and you will have to pay the rent for access to this protocol, right? That you pay that to the biggest companies because it's cheaper than to get one of your own, right? Your own protocol. It's like, no, okay.
Pay for a license.
Yeah, you pay for the license that AT&T is using, and you can use that for your own small company. So a lot of criminals and a lot of like these security software shady companies are accessing this SS7 protocol. And through that SS7 protocol, they can pinpoint where you're at live. without even sending you a malware, whatever. It's just legal because that's access to a protocol that every legal mobile phone company has. And that's where they're accessing your shit and live tracking you all over the world. On my article, my story on Vice News, for legal reasons, I didn't want to face the U.S. government asking questions, whatever. It was just too messy to say that it works all over the world. So I proved that in Mexico, but I proved on my own devices in the U.S., in Texas. And it worked because it works through SS7, or it also works through a different way of doing things, which is basically the GPS, which is the triangle between the nearest phone antennas. Right. Kind of like triangles at 3 points your location.
So they can take this software, enter your name or your phone number or your social security number, and they can pinpoint where you are anywhere in the fucking world. Find your credit score, find your recent call list, read your text messages. I'm assuming. Maybe?
I didn't access the.
Okay, no text messages.
No, I don't think so. I didn't because I didn't work on the platform enough. Like I just went through the because it gives you a huge document, with a lot of different pages and a lot of like Excels and maps and then you have to go and interpret it out what is everything.
Right.
Yeah. I sent you a video. I think you can put up a video of like how the screener goes how does it looks like. But dude, it's so fucking easy. And the most terrifying thing, it's like a lot of people's gonna say like, well, there was Pegasus right back then. It's no new.
Pegasus,
yes.
Yeah.
This has been happening
developed
for a while.
by the Israeli cyber arm. It was a cyber arms, basically weapon you could call it, but it was marketed by the Israelis as a tool to weed out criminals and terrorists. But obviously, was not used by that. It was used by governments to weed out dissidents or journalists.
Yeah. So the thing is, Pegasus. Look at all the information you have about Pegasus, right? Because it's available. It's information easily available. Well, that's one of the sheets it sends out.
Okay, so this is the information that you get.
Yeah, that's a brief. I wouldn't zoom on any info in case there is but probably most of the 4 numbers are not working anymore, so it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it looks.
Whoa.
Gives you a lot of fucking info, dude. Gives you a lot of stuff. So now, Pegasus, the thing is, it was developed by a proper known company developing software and acquired by official means by the governments, right? It wasn't acquired under the table. It was officially acquired by governments, right?
Yeah, it's like $200,000 you can pay for a license for Pegasus.
The thing with
they have the 0-day exploit with that. So like you don't need to click on a link. You can just basically send it to somebody and it automatically infects their phone. They don't need to click shit.
Definitely more aggressive. Definitely more access. I mean, it gives you more access to a device, right? Because you can turn on and off cameras, microphones, whatever.
Yeah.
This shit is nothing like that.
Right.
But the thing I find more dangerous about this thing is that it is not acquired officially by governments. This is highly overlooked, highly shady. The login, there's no information who's behind this shit. You don't know because it's a single developer in Mexico that gets a hand of people say like, okay, but the Mexican INE, the Mexican voter ID, they have a lot of like firewalls. So it's almost impossible to access that shit without strong malware. Well, the thing is, you don't need it because your malware is corruption, right?
Right.
You pay someone in to give you the whole access to an updated database of that shit. Same with phone companies, banks, blah, 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 blah. That's how this shit is working. Now, I spoke to the developer and he said, my intention to this was to provide governments all over the world access to track criminals. But I know that it's been used by, having a bad use, whatever. And this is not acquired on official capability, right? It's being acquired by a single state commander that says, okay, the license is super cheap. It's about $100,000. Give me 500 licenses. I'll pay it on my own pocket, and I'll give access to my agents, so we can work this platform. But I'll subrent it. I'm gonna rent this out to criminals as well, to people on the Cartel Jalisco, Cartel de Sinaloa, so they track rivals or day-to-day citizens. And that's how this shit is working. That's how they find people that they want to disappear, to kidnap, to kill. They use this kind of...
people within the Mexican law enforcement or military are knowingly licensing this software out to the cartels.
Dude, this is the biggest proof that Mexico is a fucking narco state. They're working side by side. You only have access to this kind of shit by invitation to a WhatsApp group. These WhatsApp group admins are either 4 or 5 different admins. It's a mix between state police commanders and cartel members, high-ranking cartel members. This is the council that'll give you access to this WhatsApp group where you have access to this technology, to signal blockers, to exotic animals, to a bunch of shit. Like passport, I'll show you photos of like fake US passports, but they're like, because they're coming out of the consulate. It's a lot of crazy shit, dude. Like if you need a different identity in Mexico, you can easily get it. Easily.